Everyone, welcome back to another week, another Pommyinoz video. I hope we're all doing really well. It's great of you to join me. If you are new around here though, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. We do all sorts of content. We've got AFL, which is our staple, bit of mighty GIBBS coming, bit of United, bit of football, round ball. We've got FIFA coming up, and then just general chit chat and just complete dossery, really. But some people do really enjoy it. And if you do really enjoy it, you can become a member of the channel now. Like these legends here. We've got Costello, we've got Sandra McDonald, Rory Forster, Saint, Andrew Scott, Greg Whitaker, Lana Owens, Azza James, Peter Hayward, Alexander Lada, Tim P, and the legend that is Byron Issa. It means the world to me that you do sponsor the content, and it allows us just to have a bit of fun, really. And if you are that way inclined, we have got these wonderful things. PommySportsAlmanac.com.au. We make prints. It's my little side project, my side hustle. Hopefully soon my main hustle, because I don't know about anyone else. Going to the office again sucks donkey balls. But today what we're going to do is we're going to do something super special. And you're going to see how depressing it is for someone that's only been a Carlton fan since he got here in 2011. 2012, I haven't had much success. So we're going to do my best 22 of people I've seen with these beautiful eyes. So let's get into my best 22 Pom's lifetime. So Pommy Life 22. In the back pocket, we've got staple long sleeve legend KADE Simpson. Thought this was a no-brainer here. And I have to say, there is a caveat to this. I've put players a bit like the All-Australian. I've tried to cram them in. So I don't want any comments of, oh, he played freaking half forward flank 2 minutes of his 300 games. If they're in, they're in. But KADE Simpson, for me, personifies kind of the dark days of Carlton Football Club, which we're kind of still in, but we're not because we're out of it. But he just worked hard, and I love KADE. And KADE Simpson is someone that I don't get sentimental. You know me. I'm not a sentimental type of guy. But he says wearing an iconic Rangers jersey. But KADE Simpson, for me, just always made me feel better about myself. And just about supporting Carlton, he gave it. He gave it all. He retires with the most horrendous records, and that's partly our fault. And he's a great bloke. Great bloke. I loved watching KADE play. And he's a guy that always makes me happy. Fullback, there was a few here that I tried to fit in, but I'm fitting in Big J-Mo. I love a bit of Michael Jamieson, and he was a wonderful player. He was a wonderful player without a shadow of a doubt, and someone that it took a while for us to replace him. I think. Do you know what I mean? It took a while for Carlton to really find a guy as good as J-Mo. To be fair, he's a guy that I remember watching the 2013 Eliminator. My first game, and he stood out there, and he was just solid, wasn't he? Airily, strong, and I think he's a no-brainer for me. I like him, and I think this backline, I would love to see it in its pomp today. I think it would have been great. Into the other back pocket, gotta pick someone who is kind of a Pom, in the loosest sense of the word. Zach Tuohy. I love Zach Tuohy, and there's not many players that, you know, when they leave Carlton, I'm upset about. You know me, I kind of wash my hands with you. Zach is one of them because I like Zach. Everything about him. He's tough, big raking foot. He looks like he's a right crack as well. Like, I want to be Zach Tuohy's mate. Like, if YouTube takes me anywhere, make me Zach Tuohy's mate in real life. That would be grouse because he just looks a fun guy to be around. But when he played for us, I remember that there is kind of a stigma in Australia that if you're not Australian born, it's kind of like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I love Tuohy because he kind of represented my own journey in AFL and loving the game and being an outsider coming into kind of a secret sect. So I love Tuohy, and I was very sad when he went. Very sad. I'm glad he hadn't won a flag, though. Halfback flank. This one was a tough one. It was a tough one, but I've always loved this guy, partly because of his surname, Heath Scotland. Froth this guy. Good user, gets through these kicking action, invariably uses it well. There's a big 2013 feel as well, because you can see the guys that really influenced my journey. I loved Heath Scotland, and he's a player that I think that Carlton lacked today. Really, he was an assured user. He found the ball well. He defended well. He's kind of like Nick Newman is like an Audi version of Heath Scotland. That's why I like Newman. But I loved Heath. I thought he was a solid footballer. Centre half back, my boy Jacob. It's quite bad that I've had to pick a guy that was around in 2018 to be in this side. But Jacob is a superstar. In my opinion, he is one of the best 3 key defenders in the comp. And he would definitely line up if the rule was I had to have witnessed them play for Carlton's best 22. I've got a small catchment area, to be fair. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the older guys or people who are my age who have been here before it was all about Ali McCoist. Halfback flank, probably controversial this, but Chris YARRAN is one of my favourite ever Carlton players that I've seen. I loved him. I love a bit of excitement off halfback. It's why I like Sardi. Absolute froth, YARRAN. He just broke lines. And every time he got the ball, as a younger Carlton, God, I feel like I'm old. But going back to early Carlton Dan, I froth YARRAN. I love Yaz. I love the way that he took the game on. Every time he got the ball, in my little head, I thought something was going to happen. Next, we've got a guy controversially because me and Gibbsy have previous. This broke me, this did, when he left. Did Bryce Gibbs. And I flopped him on the wing. He could play multiple positions. And there was something about Gibbs that I just was drawn to. It could have been the man bun. Could have been the long sleeves. Could have been the way he goes about his business. But I really like Bryce Gibbs. And I remember that trade period. And love can turn to hate in a soccer fan's mind very quickly. And it turned very quickly because it felt like it was last minute. It was rushed. We had no time for a replacement. And I was cut. And now he's retired. I can maybe appreciate Bryce Gibbs again. But that's always a thing. If you leave the club, I find it very hard to like you. He's in the wing, though, and he was a good player for us. He was a good player. Let's not lie about it. CENTREMAN, Paddy C. I've got Patrick CRIPPS here. This midfield, I think, is absolutely lit, to be honest. Cripper, and it makes me think just the last, nearly 10 years that I've been watching this game, just under. We've had decent players come through. They just have been the wrong generation. But Cripper, yeah, superstar, isn't he? I mean, he's tough. He carries the team. There's a few guys in here who carried shit Carlton, to be fair, and Cripper's one of them. And I think he'd relish, having, if these were at their prime, he'd relish having Gibbs on the outside in his prime, both of them the prime. He'd relish having YARRAN and Scotland overlapping him. I think it's a solid team. And CRIPPS is a workhorse, and he's got a chance for X Factor. On my other wing, I've gone Carazzo. You can't have a team without throwing Italians in, have you? And I love this guy. I only got to had the privilege of seeing him play towards the end of his career, but he took the game on. He was classy, and I was a big fan. I was a big fan. It was a real little turn of class, wasn't he? He had that ability to find the ball. He had that ability to use it. Obviously, he was very, very injured when I came about. He was in and out of the side, but every time he played, I could see why everyone was frothing him and got excited. And my early experience of seeing Carlton was learning off of the people of who to look out for, and then me going home and doing research. And this guy was one guy that I think I did a lot of research on about what makes a player exciting, what makes a player good. And I loved a little bit of Andrew. Like, great little player. Hopefully, big Cherra will turn into a similar type of player for us. Cross half forward, had to fit the Skywalker in. The high-flying MARC, he was, for me, someone that when I look back, we've had a lot of these players that, Carlton players that we just fall in love with, don't we? Do you know what I mean? That we just kind of, there's something about them. There's something about them. And it might not be that they're prolific or they're brilliant or anything like that. It's just that they do it. And the fact that he could play multiple positions for the club, he could go down back and lock a game up. He could go forward and snag a goal. For me, it was something that I always enjoyed about Andrew Walker. That was his ability. And I love these type of players. Sam Rose, another one that always rings out, that regardless of where he played, he'd give 100%. And Andrew Walker is, again, that player. But he was exceptionally skillful, an exceptionally talented player. And I think it would be good in that little three-tall system. Centre-half forward, got to have the reigning Coleman, haven't I? Harry McKay. Fev was a little bit after my time, to be fair. When I got here, he long since packed it in. But, I mean, he probably would... Him and Fev would be a great combination, wouldn't they? But I've had to stick to the rules. Harry is the best forward that I've seen, goal-kicking wise and prolific wise, for Carlton Football Club in my time, and I love him. I love him. Harry, I think with that midfield kick into him, can you imagine Carazzo, big boot from TUOHY or Scotland? This guy would feast. Next to him, and here's one of the Chiefs, I've gone with Mark Murphy. I remember prime Mark Murphy, and he was good. And for those that sometimes forget, he was exceptional. And I just think having these guys in their prime, imagine Mark Murphy, prime Mark Murphy, Judd. Oh, I've given you a spoiler. But yeah, Mark Murphy, he personified what it is to be Carlton. And another guy that has been at the club kind of dwindled his career down. Dwindled his career down by us being shite. But I love Mark. Sad he's retired. Then forward pocket, we've gone Eddie Betts, Eddie Crafty. Obviously, some of his best football was at Adelaide in my time, but absolute phenomenal footballer. Probably one of the best forward pockets in the generation of football. He was a gun, wasn't he? He was a jet. Magic can happen. And when you can do that at an old age as well, it says how good you were. Just think, imagine prime Betts feeding off the toes and the other guy he'd be feeding off. I had to cheat. There he is. My boy, Charlie. Any team I pick that's a best 22, lock this guy in. I love Charlie. For me, Charlie is everything that I love about this club. I always get infatuated by a player in every club I support. And yeah, that's it. For these guys, it's Giannis Hadji. For Carlton, it's Charlie Curnow. When I was a kid, it was Ali McCoist, Paul Gascoigne. Charlie Curnow is Gaza to me. He's exciting. He's X-Factor. I don't know if he's playing week in, week out because he might do something daft. And I love that. That's how I like to live my life. So don't come at me. In the other forward pocket, another guy that I just love, Dennis Armfield. Absolute gone. Pressure forward here. I needed some tackle pressure. And I got it. Armfield. Armfield was a great little player for Carlton. And he just makes me happy. He's one of them guys that just makes you happy when he plays. Ruck. The tractor, couldn't look past him. Just think, prime KREUZER, these midfield department have got deprived of the latter layers of Matty KREUZER, and it's a shame. But there was no doubt about it. In his day, one of the best rucks in the competition. Absolutely loved the tractor, hard-working servant, and he was a phenomenal player. And like, I remember that goal he scored against Hawthorn. Do you remember when he just ran through people? He had the ability to do the spectacular, really. And I'm a big fan. Followers, no brainer this. I've gone with Judd. Judd, obviously, an absolute elite player. Elite player. And up until like the advent of Walsh, probably the best midfielder I've ever seen play for us. Absolute gone. And it's okay saying that we got him in the later years, but even in the later years, he was a hell of a lot better than anyone else we had. Absolute jet. And I imagine Judd and this fella working together would be disastrous for the opposition. Sammy Walsh blows me away every time I see him. I can't speak highly enough of the kid. He's one of my favourite players to watch. And he's one of them things that I think if he does a GIBBS, I might never recover from it. So please, Carlton Football Club, sign this guy up to a contract infinite, please. Just sign him up for life. Followers then, there was a few that were missing out as well. I've got to talk about them. Alex Silvani, I did think very hard about giving because the streets don't forget. The streets don't forget that Sydney game. I don't forget it, and I never will. J-Sauce, I love him. I love J-Sauce. I wanted him in it. I couldn't quite fit him in there. But aside from that, I think I'm fairly confident with it. There's a few, that I just like personally that I wanted in, but I tried to do it, being real. Sam Docherty makes the pine. Have to have Doc in. That All-Australian year always impresses me. Obviously, a few injuries, but I am thinking I think the All-Australian year gets him in my cut. Ed Curnow, I need a workhorse. I need a workhorse. And no one has been more hard working over the last decade than this fella. And Ed Curnow's got to be in. And Carlton aren't Carlton without the Curnow brothers. And I've thrown him in. Then we've got Daisy Thomas, controversial. I know it's controversial, but on his day, he was good. He was good, particularly his last year as well. He really impressed me. He kind of paid it back. We probably look back at that deal and think we stiffed ourselves, but I have thrown Daisy in. I just like Daisy as well. He's another one that I said that I'd throw a few in. And then I only saw a few years of this guy, but JARRAD WAITE, phenomenal footballer. And I think he didn't quite reach the heights for us that we'd like to, but I think we need another forward of this team, and it's purely for balance. And I think, you know, with the supply he's got, this guy would be goals, pure goals. But he was a very talented footballer, and we tried to have some father sons in there to kind of, you know, give the club a little bit of love, a little bit of spirituality about it. But that is my best 22 that I've seen. So let me know yours. I'd love to know it, because obviously some of you will have a wonderful depth and a wonderful pool. My pool was exceptionally limited. So let me know in the comments. We'll have a chat about it. Until next time, Pommy out.